I should have turned back the moment I saw it. It was a small box, lying there on the sand of a quiet Washington beach. The waves lapped lazily around it, the tide threatening to swallow it whole. Yet, it stayed, perfectly wrapped, with a pristine bow that looked absurdly cheerful against the gray, windswept sand. Who leaves a gift like this here? I thought, stepping closer, curiosity gnawing at my better judgment. The closer I got, the stranger it felt. The wrapping paper wasn't dry. It clung to the box in damp folds, yet the bow was flawless, undisturbed. There was something deliberate about it, like it had been placed there for me specifically. I knelt and ran my fingers over the paper. A shiver crawled up my spine. The air felt heavier here, almost static, and the wind that should have been gentle bit at my neck like a cold, unseen hand. Probably just some kid's prank, I muttered to myself, but the words tasted hollow, and I didn't believe them. I opened the box. At first it was the smell. Earthy, dry herbs tied with red thread, a metallic tang beneath them. And then I saw it. A human toe. Not fake, not a prop. Pale skin, swollen slightly, the nail cracked and discolored. I stumbled back, almost dropping the box, my heart hammering, and next to it, a dead seagull. Its feathers matted, its body positioned like some sort of offering. My stomach churned, bile rising, but I couldn't look away. I ran. Sand flew under my feet, waves soaking my shoes, my chest heaving. I didn't stop until I reached the small parking lot, lungs screaming for air. My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone, dialing 911 without even thinking. The dispatcher's voice was calm, too calm, almost detached. "Sir, what exactly did you find?" I stammered. A human toe. A box on the beach. There's something else too. They said they'd send someone. They asked me to stay put. I couldn't. I paced back and forth, looking at the waves, imagining someone watching me from the dunes, from the fog that rolled in thicker than it should have. When the officers arrived, they were polite but distant. They examined the box, made notes, and then one of them muttered, almost under his breath, "You're not the first to find something like this. Boxes have been showing up for weeks." Weeks. I asked who, why, how, but they shook their heads, eyes flicking to the shoreline as if afraid of something in the mist. Some say witchcraft, others ritual offerings. Just don't touch them. I couldn't stop thinking about it. The toe, the bird, that box. It wasn't just the horror, it was the deliberate nature of it, the way someone had set it perfectly in place. Someone had meant for me to find it. That night I couldn't sleep. My apartment felt wrong. Shadows clung to corners, too dark, too solid. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like footsteps, every gust of wind outside the window like whispered laughter. I kept imagining the box, the pale toe, the dead seagull. I dreamed of walking along the beach and seeing dozens of identical boxes lined up along the sand, each one more grotesque than the last. My own reflection appeared in the water, pale and twisted, holding a box in its hands. And when I woke, the dream lingered, thick and suffocating. The following day, I returned to the beach. Against every instinct screaming in my head, I wanted to see if the box was still there. The tide had moved, washed over it completely. There was no trace, no sand disturbed, no ribbon floating. Nothing. It was gone. And yet, I knew it hadn't been washed away. Not really. It had been moved. Someone, something, had taken it. I tried to tell myself it was over, a one-time horrifying event. But the sense of being watched didn't leave. On my drive back, I noticed shadows moving in the fog that seemed wrong. Wrong in the way that made you question reality itself. Shapes bending at impossible angles, vanishing when I blinked, reappearing just beyond the reach of light. I returned home, every muscle tense. I checked my doors and windows twice, thrice. Everything was locked, secure. Yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that the apartment itself was holding its breath, waiting. That night, a message appeared on my phone. No number, no signal, just words typed in a font I didn't recognize. You saw. Now it sees you. My blood ran cold. My fingers shook as I stared at the screen, heart hammering. I deleted the message, turned off the phone, and crawled into bed, wrapping myself in the covers like a child. But sleep didn't come. Every sound was magnified. The hum of the refrigerator became a growl, the wind scraping the window a whispering voice. My eyes darted around the dark room, imagining shadows stretching, limbs forming where none should exist. And then I heard it. A soft, deliberate tapping. Not from the window, not from the floor, but from inside the wall next to my bed. Slow at first, then faster, as though someone or something was trying to get out. My breath caught in my throat. I froze. Tap, tap, tap. Leave, a voice whispered. I bolted upright, sweat soaking my shirt. Who's there? I demanded, voice cracking. Silence answered. But the tapping continued, relentless, obsessive. I couldn't stay. I packed a bag, shoved clothes and essentials in it, and ran into the night. The streets were empty, fog wrapping around me like a living thing. I didn't know where I was going, only that I had to get as far from the box, from the beach, from that message as possible. And yet, I knew it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. It would find me. It had already. Even as I write this, the image of that box, the toe, the dead seagull, and that message haunts me. My dreams are full of whispers and shadows, shapes that bend reality itself. I can't escape it, and I know, with a certainty that chills my bones, that I never will. Because someone, or something, has marked me. And the beach is only the beginning.
I didn't sleep that night, not a wink. Every shadow in my apartment seemed alive, bending and stretching in impossible ways. The tapping in the wall hadn't stopped. If anything, it had grown louder, more insistent, like the building itself was waking, pressing against my nerves. By morning, I was exhausted, shaking, barely able to make sense of reality. I stared out the window at the fog that rolled off the beach. Something moved in it. Or maybe it was my mind playing tricks. I didn't care anymore. I had to know. I had to see the box again. I drove back to the beach, heart hammering, hands white on the steering wheel. The closer I got, the thicker the fog became. My headlights barely cut through the mist. And then I saw it. Footprints. Human footprints, small and wet, leading straight to the tide line. They stopped abruptly, as if whoever or whatever was here had vanished into the mist. I followed them. My feet sank into the wet sand. My breath came in ragged gasps. Then I saw it. The box. Not just one this time, dozens of them, scattered along the shoreline. Each wrapped neatly, bows intact, as if mocking me. My stomach turned. I stumbled back, tripping over a driftwood log. I didn't touch them. I couldn't. But I couldn't look away either. Something in me demanded I understand. I bent closer to one, peering inside. Sticks, herbs, a small, pale object I refused to identify. A seagull carcass, another offering. And then I saw the eyes. They were everywhere. In the fog, peering from the dunes, from shadows that shouldn't exist. Tiny pinpoints of light, watching me like prey. I ran, every step sinking into sand soaked with seawater and something older, fouler. The fog thickened, swirling around me like fingers trying to grasp. The wind carried whispers, soft at first, then rising, overlapping, urgent. Return it. Return it. Return it. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I couldn't ignore it. Back in my car, I tried to think. My hands shook as I gripped the wheel. The radio, static-filled, seemed to respond to my panic. Faint, almost subliminal voices echoed through the speakers. It's watching. It knows. It waits. I drove aimlessly, trying to escape the fog, the eyes, the whispers. I didn't know where I was going, only that I needed light, civilization, anything human. By afternoon, I reached a small diner. I sat in the corner, trying to blend in. Nobody noticed me. I tried to order coffee, but my hands were trembling too much. I glanced at the windows. Outside, the fog followed, or maybe it was still in my head. An old man entered the diner. His eyes met mine, sharp and knowing. He sat at the counter, not far from me. He whispered to the waitress, not noticing me, but I overheard. They've been appearing again. The boxes, they're not harmless. I froze. You know about them? I asked, my voice cracking. He turned slowly. His eyes were milky, almost inhuman. They always find someone curious, someone who sees. You shouldn't have looked inside. What are they? I demanded.
He shook his head, leaning closer. It's not just a box, it's a mark. And every mark comes with a price. Some think it's witchcraft. Others say it's the sea claiming souls, offering them to something older than time itself. My stomach lurched. Claiming souls? What do you mean? Whatever they put inside those boxes, he whispered, voice low and hoarse, is meant to bind you. It watches you, it follows you, and it waits. The toe, it's not random. That was a warning. I wanted to ask more, but the diner door slammed and I jumped. The fog had followed me here, or maybe it had never left. I left the diner without paying, too frightened to even think straight. Back at my apartment, things had changed. The air was heavier, thick with something unseen. Shadows moved against the walls, even with the lights on. My phone buzzed. A message, no sender. Did you see them? They are watching. Return it. I realized then it wasn't just about the box. It was about me. That night, sleep was impossible. I sat in the living room, flashlight in hand, heart racing, watching shadows stretch and twist. The whispering returned, louder, closer, threading through my skull like poisoned silk. Why did you look? Why did you see? Why did you touch? I covered my ears, but it didn't stop. The walls themselves seemed to pulse, moving, bending, pressing inward. And then I saw them, not in the walls, not in the room, but in the corners of my vision. Pale, thin shapes, almost human, watching, waiting, stretching impossibly. I realized I was not alone. They were never far, not in the box, not on the beach, not in the diner. They were inside me now, watching through my eyes, feeling through my skin, whispering through my thoughts. And then I understood. I had to return it.
Whatever it was, I had to put it back where it belonged. If I didn't, it would follow me forever. I drove back to the beach at dawn. The fog had lifted slightly, but the boxes were still there, lining the sand, silent, accusing, each bow perfect. I picked one. My hands shook. The whispers followed me, urging me, guiding me. Inside the box, the toe, the bird, and herbs, sticks, the strange object. I didn't understand what it all meant, but I knew the price of curiosity. I carried the box to the tide line, hands slick with sweat. The waves lapped at my ankles. I whispered apologies I didn't understand. The boxes seemed to watch me, patient, waiting. I dropped the box into the surf. The water swallowed it slowly, tugging at it, dragging it under. And then, silence. For a moment, I felt relief, but the eyes in the fog, the whispers threading through my mind, they didn't disappear. I walked away from the beach, shaking, exhausted, but alive, for now. I don't know if returning it truly worked. I don't know if it ever will. I only know that curiosity has a cost, and some things, some horrors, never leave you. And in the back of my mind, even as I write this now, I can still hear it. A whisper, soft, patient, urgent. You saw, we saw, you belong. I look over my shoulder constantly. I check the shadows, I check the fog, and I know, deep down, it isn't finished with me.